Coming up, the New Jersey Devils make a bit of a minor move with the Islanders. We break down the departure of Tyce Thompson, what it means in the player they got back, all coming up on an emergency podcast episode, Devils Trade Chatter. Yes, sir. It's DPL, the Devil's Puck Luck Podcast, where you know we are your host. Over here, Adam Armbrecht. Over there, Danny McDonough. And as we said at the top, a little bit of a breaking news episode here. Not at the highest level. We'll save that for the NHL trade deadline. But surprising, Danny, as the New Jersey Devils make a move with interdivision rival New York Islanders here, ultimately returning Arnaud Durandeau from the Islanders minor leaguer for Tyce Thompson, minor leaguer. What are your takeaways from this before we talk about your personal feelings on Thompson, knowing that the Devils get back essentially the new mold of player, winger, very fast, speed, right?
Yeah.
This is a guy you can see the future of potentially. We'll get into some of the numbers, but it just feels like the Devils are, this is the type of guy we want in our system. We're going to go get him.
Yeah, I mean, he fits what we do, right?
Yeah.
It's the speed through the neutral zone, and you watch some of his tape, there's not a lot on him, obviously, because we're just researching it now because we weren't familiar with this player, obviously. But now seeing what he can do, you're absolutely right. He fits our system, and looking at it, objectively, I think it's a good move. And
Mhm.
as a fan, you like Tyce Thompson, so for me, it was tough to see him go, but he's been in the system for a little bit, and maybe he's going to get a shot with the Islanders. So you wish him the best.
Tyce Thompson, as we mentioned, going the other way here, has a lot of ties, came up in the Islanders organization through their youth program, and then also had his father was the coach of their minor league system for a while in Belleville. And this feels like from the area, Long Island. Is this just because I said it as the Devils go get? But in reality, this could feel as much about the Islanders go get a guy that they had a strong hand in developing and feel like they'd like to have him be a part of it. For you personally in this offseason, we talked about him. You liked his style of play. You believed he had a chance maybe at some point to come up, right, and have a little taste at the NHL level. Are you disappointed to see Thompson go in this basically what's come down to as reported 1-for-1 player swap?
No, remember he's been in our system. He's had shots to make the NHL squad,
Yep.
and he hasn't. And I think that his time was up to make this team. So I think it's a nice move by Fitz to get him out to the Islanders, where he might get a shot to play. And getting back what we got back, it's an even swap. I look at it as an even swap. I think it's both. It's good for both teams. So yeah, I'm disappointed because I really like Tyce. I wanted to see him at the NHL level at some point, especially with some of the injuries. You wonder if
Mhm.
this was a move because is Halla hurt more than we expect, from the last game. So we don't really know what's going on with Eric Halla yet. Maybe it's a move to get a little more depth and to bring someone into our lineup quicker that can have an impact with the style of play, like you mentioned earlier, and could fit right into our system.
Yeah, and this is a player in Durandeau who comes in with 49 goals, 63 assists, and 179 games at the AHL level. Just 24 years old. You mentioned the age, the fit, the expectation of when they could potentially be something for their NHL rosters are basically on par with one another. But you touched on the last point I wanted to get to before we clear out on this discussion. What does it indicate, if anything, to you? Because I looked at it every possible level. Timo Meyer's been dealing with a bit of an injury. You have Holland now and his concerns. You have the Alexander Holtz play, which has been phenomenal, but for whatever reason, we can't get away from the possibility that he's going to be a part of this trade bait. I wondered if it was a little bit of Fitz saying, okay, let's slowly start to maybe prepare for potential eventuality, short, long term here, if we need to go make a bigger move to solidify this team.
I think if we make a bigger move, you might see a Toffoli or Mercer move. It's like if it's a huge move, and I'm talking like blockbuster trade.
Right, right, right.
It's we don't want to see Holtz. You and I don't want to see Holtz traded, but it's so hard to say. We're 9-1, and I think these next 10 to 12 games are really going to dictate what we're going to be doing. You and I talked about the injuries. The injuries are so frustrating because you have no idea what's happening half the time with Timo. No idea what's going on when he's going to return. It's good to see him skating. It's good to see him back on the ice. And Halla now. You don't know what's going on with Halla and Lazar, who was seen limping around. So there's injuries. We know that's going to happen with any team, so obviously having the depth is important. And you mentioned it perfectly. This is a kid that's going to fit in with our system better than Tyce Thompson did, and
Yep.
I think he is more likely to be called up before Tyce Thompson would, so I think it's a smart move by both GMs, the style of play that they have and the way that both coaches really have that fundamental system for their teams, it makes sense, and it's again, I think it's a perfectly even swap when you really look at it from the outside.
Yep, young players, hopefully good for both of them going forward here. Tyce Thompson out for the Devils, Arnaud Durandeau in for New Jersey, and we'll see in the coming weeks if it leads to anything, whether it's injury related or otherwise. You can go ahead and check out our full episode breakdown, which covers the most recent game, a bounce back performance for the Devils, the return of Nico Hischier, as we continue this discussion, just one more game away from our quarter mark as we'll break down where we think the Devils are and the areas they need to improve. So be sure you get us over on YouTube at Devils Puck Luck. You can get us over on Twitter at NJ Devils PL, at Danny the Face, at Adam Armbrecht, and of course on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Snapchat at Devils Puck Luck. Until next time, guys, for all the latest breaking news, be sure to subscribe on all those great platforms. We will see you next time.